Jump, and the net will appear. This quote by Julia Cameron is probably familiar to many of you. Let's hope when it comes to mind, you're not on top of the Eiffel Tower. But if you want to use it to infuse your everyday life decisions with more trust, courage, and faith, I'm cheering you on. I jumped 3 times without a net, and I'm standing here before you stronger than ever. I'm a repeat immigrant. This year is my 20th anniversary of my first immigration to the US. The first time I immigrated to Kentucky for the love of a man didn't work out, but I found what I was really looking for, a technique, new decision therapy that set me free. The second time I immigrated to New York City for the love of healing in pursuit of mastery of this life-changing therapy. The third time I immigrated for the love of my life, and it was to live into my truth. 4 years ago, before I decided to immigrate for the third time, I had a great setup in Berlin. We had a big old Berlin apartment, super high ceilings, wooden floors right in the center of the city, big balcony near the park, 1 block away from the River Spray, my routine running route to the castle nearby. Our friends lived there, school friends, friends I studied with, our neighbors who really became close while our boys were growing up together. They say they're brothers. And all my immediate family lives there. This time around, it was especially hard to leave my 83-year-old parents. But I knew I couldn't wait for their death in order to live my life. So I jumped. When I decided to immigrate for the third time with my then 9-year-old son, the con list to this adventure was long and strong. So what made me decide for this anyways? Did you know the average person makes 35,000 decisions per day? 35,000 remotely conscious decisions. You have coffee in the morning, you take milk, skim milk, half and half, 1%, oat milk, coconut milk, you take sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, coconut sugar, raw sugar, you get the picture. It's exhausting to even get a freaking cup of coffee. Our life is a series of decisions from the moment we wake up. I couldn't even pick an item from a menu without dealing with regrets and doubts on what would finally land on my plate. Decisions kept me paralyzed and cost me several migraines per week as a teenager, and the could have, should have, would have, with looping thoughts and feelings equally paralyzing after a decision, like a computer waiting to load, spinning, wondering what was wrong with me. Neuroscience shows that we humans experience something called decision fatigue, and that executive functions like decision-making is impaired when there's trauma, even micro-trauma. And when we encounter decision fatigue, we're likely to tune out. But, as my son recently said to me, "Mom, there's no way of not doing something, because not doing something is also doing something." It takes a lot of energy to be present and live life from a place of choice instead of being on autopilot. Most people make pro and con lists in making big decisions, while some take leaps of faith. How often did I find myself with a short pro list and a really long con list about leaving Germany, full well knowing I would go for it? List making used to be my specialty. Now, my specialty is taking leaps of faith. Decisions. It really comes down to the balance of the trifecta of thinking, feeling, willpower. These 3 need to cooperate based on a person's value system. And the better they work together, like a well-oiled machine, the clearer we can make decisions and we can move forward with confidence, daring ourselves to encounter failure and learn from it instead of thinking there's one right decision. Getting to this balance requires turning inward, tuning in. Research shows that even 15 minutes of mindfulness practice supports more aligned decision-making. I began choosing consciously at the age of 12, doing yoga, breathing, meditation. I was looking for relief because I was in so much pain, and it began to help. Adding Buddhist compassion practices and learning how to release my childhood trauma with new decision therapy was my breakthrough to myself, my truth, more inner peace and freedom. I began understanding the nature of the decision-making process being the instrumental word here. I allowed my decisions to be temporary, something that can be renewed and changed, at least for the most part. I realized that it's an illusion that we're in control of everything, as much as it's an illusion that we're victims to our circumstances. We can take our life in our hands and create, one step at a time, one decision at a time, feeling where there's alignment in our body-mind-spirit continuum, tapping into our truth, our momentary truth, and feeling it. This makes decision-making an experience, maybe even a creative experiment informed by actions and reactions each moment. There's more than one truth. There's more than one good decision usually. Living an extraordinary life is an internal process. It takes a conscious decision, courage, and willingness. I call that my God walk. Living in alignment with my truth and purpose, the road less traveled. I invite you to walk your God walk because this is not a dress rehearsal. This is your life.